Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargav again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. An eminent economist very recently published a comparative study of India's growth record during two eras. The 2009 to 2014 period, which is a UPA 2 era of the Manmohan Singh government, with the 2015 to 2019 era, the period of the Modi government. He compared the two and he says he compared India's growth record during the worst years of the Manmohan Singh tenure versus the best years, he says, of the Modi government. A country's growth is best seen and symbolized in its GDP growth for the year. As per the revised basis of calculation of India's GDP growth, the annual average GDP growth during this tenure of the Manmohan Singh government, which is 2009 to 2014, has been 6.7%, whereas the average annual growth rate of the GDP during 2015 to 2019, which is the Modi era, has been 7.5%. That's quite a huge difference. And as per that, the state of the economy during the Modi government should be far much better. But the ground reality has been showing otherwise. There have been consistent signs of distress in the economy in various sectors, and this economist thus chose to ignore the GDP statistics and decided to measure the record of growth during these two eras of India with the help of what he calls real-time economic parameters, which determine the economic decisions of a common man, as he says. He decided to go beyond these GDP numbers in order to see how was the growth rate of the Indian economy. The economist chose to thus measure the state of the Indian economy or the growth in these two periods with the help of 15 economic parameters, which included sale of two-wheelers, four-wheelers and tractors, consumption of petro products during these two comparative eras, growth in airline passenger, growth in railway passenger traffic, corporate taxation collections, income tax collections, household savings, inflation. These kind of 15 parameters, which is what he chose, calling them real-time economic indicators. And his analysis shows that out of 15 parameters that he chose, the Manmohan Singh government for the UPA 2 regime did much better than the Modi government. In other words, India's growth record during 2009 to 2014, according to him, was much better than during the Modi era of 2015 to 2019. The Modi government did not do good on most parameters except construction of roads, inflation, and also in terms of consumption of petro products. The rest of the parameters, according to this economist, the Indian economy fared much better during the Manmohan Singh regime, and that belies the very correctness or genuineness of these statistics which were given. That is, the growth rate during the Manmohan regime was 6.7% per annum in the GDP versus 7.5% during the Modi era. The reality is that the ground reality does look to be disconnected with this growth rate, this consistent growth rate of 7.5% that the government claims. The numbers do not add up somewhere to the story that the government claims has been on the economic front. And that is best reflected in the distress in the rural sector, the sufferings of the MSME and the informal sector, the lack of fresh investment coming up, the unemployment that continues to rise. All these point completely to another direction and do not really support the claim of growth that is being made of the government and seem to support the analysis of this economist. The ground level indicators thus do not seem to match with the government claims. Let us keep this comparison aside, but let us certainly come to the fact that things have not been hunky-dory as the government may like to claim or paint a picture. What are the reasons why things have not been hunky-dory? Because otherwise, in the first 2 years of the Modi government, the economy had gained good momentum. It had ensured that its backlog of the earlier growth which has suffered in the Manmohan Singh era took on at full speed, but thereafter things took in a different direction. What are the reasons that the ground level reality does not really reflect what may be claimed in these growth figures of the government? According to us, there are very clear reasons for this kind of a disparity between the actual reality at the ground and the government numbers. The first, according to us, has been the continuation or rather the accentuation of crony capitalism during the Modi era. State resources have been, or rather even the overall economic opportunities have been reserved and taken away by a privileged few, and that increased the inequality gap between the rich and the poor big time. To add to it was the draconian demonetization, which was a sledgehammer on the fortunes of the informal and the MSME sector. The policies thus for the MSME sector post demonetization were not good enough for the revival of that sector, and the informal sector never really picked up. Jobs did not thus grow the way they were meant to be, because the informal sector, the MSME sector, is the biggest contributor of jobs to the Indian economy, and this sector's suffering did not stop. During the Modi era, rural distress came in because farmer incomes receded and nothing was done on time to be able to ameliorate the stress, the financial distress the farmers, the rural sector have been facing. And then to top it was a hurried introduction of the GST. It has been a combination of these various factors that a large section of the Indian economy symbolized, represented by the MSME sector, the informal sector and the rural sector has been suffering, and it does not reflect the growth claims of the government of India, lending a sense of authenticity to this comparative study of the economist. The fact remains is that policies can fail. The most best thought out and considered economic policies do not guarantee that they will succeed. It is usual for policies to fail. But it is also usual that any policies or programs are reviewed midway. They are seen midway only to see whether they are meeting the projections or the performance that is targeted, and if they are not, policies are rectified, recalibrated midway. Unfortunately, in the case of the present regime, there has been no such inclination. Even if there has been failure of policies, take the Make in India flagship program of the government, it has not taken off the way it was meant to. These then need mid-course correction. But before you do mid-course correction, you need an acceptance that things have not gone in the direction in which they were meant to be or projected to be. There has been failure. This regime has not accepted failure at all, even though it is usual to fail. On the contrary, it has actually given questionable statistics of performance to prove that all is well and all is good, whereas all has not been well, all has not been good. Ask the suffering informal sector, ask the stressed MSME sector, and ask the distressed rural sector, wherein lies a large section of the Indian economy and India's population. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
HW News Network today is a year and a half old. Thanks to your support, thanks to your love, we've grown. We require your support a little more. What we request you to do is to download our free app. Our app is in Hindi, English and Marathi. We promise to update you with the latest news, views, analysis, interview. We also have a live TV going in that. If you download our app, we will get advertisers. And if we get advertisers, we'll get revenue. We get revenue, we can serve you better. So once again, please do support us. Please download our app. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, Well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.